Hey YouTube, it's your boy Siraj aka Third Eye Fried back with another video. This time we're gonna do something a little different. As you guys may or may have not have watched for the 5 viewers I have that follow. I'm just recently wrapped up a trip in India. Now I'm about to start posting some videos from Egypt, but I thought it'd be a little strange to just all of a sudden without an explanation just go from videos of India to Egypt pretty much a year later. So I thought I would do some sort of conclusion video for my trip in India and put all I know into, or all I learned out with my time out there, into 5 tips for traveling India. So without further ado, let's begin. Tip number 1, don't try to see all of India at once. Yes, I know that sounds silly, but hear me out. India is a very big place. It's called the subcontinent for a reason. I see a lot of people when they're planning their trip to India, me included, or while they're in India trying to plan where to go, they'll try and cram everything at once. They'll try to see the mountains and the Himalayas, they'll try to go to Goa, they'll try to see everywhere in between, and unless you have a solid 6 months in India, it's just not gonna work that way. It's like trying to see all of America in a month and a half or 2 months. You know, most people are, let's say they're traveling from 3 weeks to 2 months when you're in India, somewhere around there. Either or, that's not enough time to see anything. So it makes the most sense to split your discovery in India into several trips. I'd say for one trip, focus on seeing the south. You could go to Goa, go to Hampi, you go to North Goa, South Goa, Hampi, you know, things of that sort, and just stick in one region. Then for the next trip, you could check out like Rajasthan, then go to Himachal Pradesh, then go check out the actual Himalayas and go deep in there. And you know, you could do the north in a separate trip, and then east, west, all that. As I said, there's so much to see that you are going to be stressing out if you try to see it all at once. Tip number 2, be conscious of what you eat. Yeah, seems like a pretty obvious one for traveling India, but I should re-emphasize and maybe explain a little. First off, I will say that I did not get food poison or sick anywhere in India. I was eating whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. But I also know I have a much stronger stomach than most people of European descent. I can handle food a lot better. I can actually eat spicy food and not just white people spicy, like spicy Cheetos or something. I can eat actual spicy food, but it's a little beyond that. If you are traveling in India, you really have to be conscious of where you're getting your food and what's in it. I'd recommend being on a vegetarian diet when you're in India, simply because all the dishes that can be meat dishes are also good as vegetarian dishes in India. It's a very vegetarian-centric society. Therefore, you can have all you want and not have to worry about that additional danger of, you know, cooked meats or meat that's not cooked properly. Granted, if you do decide to eat meat there, it's not a big deal. Maybe trust restaurants more than street vendors. Maybe look out for places with a lot of Westerners in it, so you know you can handle the food properly. That really won't be a problem. And Goa is pretty much safe everywhere. You can eat wherever, whenever. It's a very tourist-focused place. But when you get to the lesser traveled parts of India, then you have to be a little more conscious. Another thing is to avoid ice. And I mean that, like, avoid having ice cubes in your drink, ice put into your drinks, all that, because a lot of the bacteria people get that induces food poisoning isn't actually from food, it's from the ice they put in their drinks. So be very conscious of that. All right, tip 3 is get your international driver's license. Now, when you're traveling South Asia, Southeast Asia, a lot of the countries that isn't that big of a deal if you don't have your international license. They'll still rent you scooters, you can still drive around, and police, for the most part, depending on how they feel, but for the most part, at least in my experience, won't dog on you too hard for not having your international license. India's a little different. The police will, and they will try to get as much money from you as possible. If you give them any reason, they will do what they can to extort you. It's happened to a lot of my friends. I saw it happen pretty much in front of me multiple times, especially in Goa. Those police operate like a mafia. half of them look like they're strung out and just yelling at people and shouting all the time and then trying to get every penny from people as possible. So avoid a headache, don't give them a reason to pull you over, or more so, don't give them a reason to further detain you if you're put in a situation where you have to interact with the police. India is a little different than like Thailand or Cambodia, for example, because I really do feel like you need a bike to get around. Taxis become way too expensive, and India is way too big to get everywhere on foot and even with a bicycle. Even a place like Goa, like you kind of need a bike to get from event to event, party to party, hostel to hostel. So insulate yourself from getting slapped by the law and get that international driver's license. My fourth tip is one that seems pretty obvious, but I feel is vastly overlooked, and that is to make friends with Indians. Like, become friends with Indian people. Now, for most countries, that's easier said than done. For example, when I'm in Thailand or Vietnam, there aren't many Vietnamese or Thai people staying in those hostels that international travelers would stay in. India is quite different. As I said, India is a huge country, so a lot of the people exploring India are Indians, and they'll stay at the same hostels that the international travelers stay at. So it's a lot easier to be put in social situations. They want to meet you just as much as you want to meet them. And what's cool is once you're friends with them, they'll tell you about places that you didn't know about or other travelers haven't told you about, and they can navigate the country a lot better than you would be able to. And lastly, they could stop you from being taken advantage of, whether that's via transportation, dealing with police, or just dealing with vendors. You're much less likely to get ripped off by a vendor if there's someone from that state or from that country with you, giving them the look, So I'd say it's very important, and it will unlock a whole new potential and plethora of potential travel and exploration events in India. Which brings us to our fifth tip and last. Keep your schedule open. What do I mean by that? Do not try and stick to a rigid travel schedule when you're in India. That will only stress you out. When you're in India, try and talk with people, meet Indian people, and paste together a trip from what you learned from them, because there's so much to be seen there, and what you think you want to see ahead of time may not be what presents itself to you while you're there. You may want to go to a temple that's 4 hours away, but then a group of people that you became really good friends with in the past week are going to go to another state, and you want to meet up with them. So you can get the most out of your time there with the least stress if you adopt a go with the flow mentality. My best adventures weren't the one, and when I was in India, weren't the ones that were planned. It was from becoming friends with our tuk-tuk driver and having him just show us around rural India, and me seeing things that I didn't even know I would have access to, let alone wanted to see. Or thought I wanted to see. So with that said, those would be, I would say, the 5 most important tips of traveling India. Don't try to do it all at once. Be conscious of what you eat. Get your international license. Make friends with Indians, and keep your schedule open. I hope that helps a little, and I hope that inspires people to travel India. Catch me soon, posting some videos from Egypt. Much love.